For 1 second.
What's up, Gary Wrestler?
I said, tell Octavio I'm going up.
Nice to see you, Tad
The
Schwartz.
handsome devil, you.
Look at you with all the love in the world.
Good morning, everyone. Just want to remind you that we are live on Facebook and we are recording.
Ivana, can we start? I think Richard said, oh, it's not even 11 yet. We have a couple more minutes. Let's wait. Hi, Carlos. Hi, Jen.
Christina, I like your background.
Thank you.
How are you?
Exactly
We have
where
to
you want to go for a staycation.
Yeah, exactly. Downtown MIA. That's where it's at. Hey, Richard. Good morning.
Hey, how's it going, Christina? So,
Good, good.
again, I guess now's the time to start. It's Richard Leidecker, and this is the COVID Recovery Committee for the Downtown Development Authority. I thank everybody for coming. I also tell everybody how thankful we are that you're here and how sensitive we are to time and busy you are. So we're going to try to move it along very quickly. Everybody's invited to stay till the end. We love that. But if after you go, get on to other things, we certainly understand if you drop off the meeting. Christina, do you want to go ahead and do the basic intros?
Yeah, sure. So Yvonne has to do her opening remarks into the public meeting. So Yvonne, our board secretary, will kick it off. Go ahead, Yvonne.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to Miami DDA's COVID Recovery Committee webinar. My name is Yvonne de la Vega, board secretary for Miami DDA, and I will be serving as a moderator along with Elvira Mannon from our Miami DDA team. Miami DDA's COVID Recovery Committee webinar will be live streamed on Miami DDA's Facebook page, so members of the public will be able to view this digital meeting fully. Members of the public may pre-record their questions or comments by dialing 305-379-6586, or you may send your comments and questions via email to publiccomments@miamidda.com. Any comments received within the public comments period prior to this meeting have been shared with the board members and entered into the record and considered prior to any action taken. Board members, our distinguished guests will have an opportunity to address the public comments received as time permits. Instructions for leaving public comments for any of our Miami DDA board or committee meetings can always be found on our website at miamidda.com. All board members are reminded not to communicate with other board members via chat, message, or phone, as it is a violation of the Florida Sunshine Law. All conversation is to happen within this meeting that is being recorded. We encourage board members and all participants to use the chat feature for any questions and comments you may have during the discussion. Board members, Miami DDA Executive Director, City of Miami Deputy Attorney, and our presenters will be on video with video and microphones open during the entire meeting. Closed captioning has also been made available for this meeting. To activate closed captioning, please click the CC button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. There were no public comments received prior to this meeting, and we have a full agenda with lots of information. So for this reason, we ask our board members to please hold your questions whenever possible so that they could be addressed at the end of the meeting. And with that, Richard Leidecker, chairman of our COVID Recovery Committee, with your permission, I will call out the names of those present for the roll call so that we can begin the meeting. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Richard Leidecker, Christina Crespi, Aaron Gordon, Tad Schwartz, Alicia Cervera, Robert Hevia, Carlos Migoya, Gary Wrestler, Jennifer Moon, Tad Schwartz, Art Noriega, Danette Linares, Alan Ojeda, Jose Malea, Fernando Casamayor, Joseph Salzberg, Barnaby Min. We have some people from the SMS team and from the DDA team, and Jeremy Schwartz from the mayor's office. And I believe that's it.
Suzanne Amaducci-Adams just joined.
Hi, Suzanne. Yes.
Hello.
Hey, Vaughn. Jose just joined. How are you?
Hi, Jose. How are you? Got it.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Christina, why don't we just jump into it? We'll be very sensitive with time.
Sure.
But how do you figure? I think if I speak for the committee, any of the committee members tell me if they want to do something different. But I think one, just a 30,000-foot view of where we are, like where are our average 7-day positive test results? What are our new rates in Florida? Last we left it, just to put it in a backdrop, I think last we left it 2 weeks ago, we came to the conclusion that this is pretty much the norm until we get a vaccine. Given the high rate of daily infections, the inability to trace, and the fact that our average positive test rate over a 7-day period is at, I thought it was like 16.5%, and that projections didn't put it getting lower until September, October, and then you pile on the kids going to school on top of that, where there's an expected bump. It seems to be that we're not going to get to the next phase and reopening business community, that this is where we're at, and we're going to try to drive it down with face masks and preventative measures, and that, you know, shutting down wasn't really an option, but we were going to try to mitigate and minimize the spread through masks and social distancing and those factors. Anybody tell me if I'm wrong, but against that backdrop, why don't we jump in to where we are at, and if we think that that sort of prognosis has changed, and if that's not a correct prognosis, please feel free to tell me.
I mean, it wasn't my takeaway, but let's hear from the experts, I guess.
So we had first on the agenda a presentation from staff up for our marketing and PR campaign and all the different initiatives that we've been working on. Do you all want to skip and go first to Jennifer's update from the county, and then we'll hear from the city and go down the list? Do you want to do it that way, and then we'll do our presentation at the end, or vice versa?
Christina, this is Carlos. If I may, based on Richard's comments, I think they're slightly off, but if we allow Jennifer and I to talk about where we are from a current standpoint, starting off with Jennifer, I really would appreciate, from a timing perspective also, but I think you get a better picture of where we are today and where we think we're going here over the next probably the next 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. So Jennifer, you want to go ahead and start?
Sure, Christina, thanks for allowing me to participate and provide information. I'm using yesterday's dashboard because today's dashboard is probably going to be a little bit late. There is a lab called Nizhnik Lab Corps. It's a private lab that it seems like it had been doing private testing. It would go into restaurants or workplaces and say, hey, we'll test your employees for you. And it wasn't delivering the tests to the state. And there was a dump of 14 or 18,000, I'm still getting the details, tests that probably were tests done over the last 6 to 8 weeks. And they were all dumped last night into the system and are part of today's report. So then the percent positive today is going to be a significant outlier for Miami-Dade County for sure, but probably statewide. And so we're still kind of waiting to see what's going to come from the Department of Health. Related to that, there's got to be some messaging that explains that, you know, these positive results are based on tests that have been taken over a long period of time. But based on yesterday's results, yesterday's positivity rate just for the day was 13.5%, which gave us a 14-day average of 14%. So there's a couple different ways you can look at the positivity rate. Some people look at an actual declining percentage, and we've seen it kind of go up and down, and it's between, you know, like 12 and 14, and I think our lowest day had been down to about 10.4, and it's sort of hanging in there, but our 14-day average is starting to decline. So another way of measuring is a 14-day average of less than 10%. So right now we're at 14.3. We'll see, you know, could be another couple weeks before it gets down to that 10% target. And then the yesterday, Jackson's positivity rate, and I'm sure Carlos Mogoy will talk more about what's happening specifically at Jackson, was 14%. We have seen a significant decline in the hospitalizations. At our high, we were close to, we had gone well over 2,000, and now we're down to about 1,600, 1,623 was the number yesterday. So that is obviously getting significantly better. And the number of people in ICU beds has gone down by more than 100. We're down to 423. And the number of patients on ventilators has declined by probably about 25% now. We're down to 295. Almost more important than the positivity rate is our available hospital resources. And so that's what we focus on the most. And we are starting to stabilize and, get a handle on that. So I don't think there will be any contemplation of significant changes in our emergency orders in the next week or so still. I mean, we're still not necessarily comfortable that we can be lifting a lot of stuff, but things are definitely getting better. The most important thing, and we can't take this lightly, is the not just the actual changes in policies, but the perception that those changes in policies bring. And there is significant concern that the last set of openings back in June may have given the community the impression that things were fine and you didn't have to worry about social distancing and facial coverings and the other things that are the best ways to prevent spread of the disease. And so we have to be very careful as we move forward that we make sure people still do those things, even if we open businesses more, that they still follow those guidelines in order to protect everybody. Assume the people around you are positive and be very careful in what you're doing. So that's where we are right now. And Mr. Magoya, we tend to tag team.
Yeah, we kind of work on this together, and besides the Jackson side, I also represent that we have a regular ongoing call with all the South Florida hospitals. And why I thought it would be important to start out with Jennifer, because obviously Jennifer can give you some of the numbers that are all looking in the right direction and continue to do so. I will tell you that the same numbers that she's talking about for the numbers for hospitalized beds and ICU beds apply to Jackson. We continue to see a dramatic reduction of med-surg beds, slower reduction on the ICUs and vented only because it's a lagging indicator. Obviously, you've got people that are sick. And if you look at the length of stay now for the intensive care, it's running around the 20, 24 days, which means that some of those sicker people are hanging on. The outcome to that is not good because a higher percentage of those will not make it. So you will see the death rate actually growing, the death rate, not the, because obviously these people are lagging on when you're having less people being admitted. So that number will, over the next week or 2 weeks, would not look very good. But I will tell you that in the standpoint of emergency visits, they're dramatically down, and that's across South Florida, Miami-Dade County, but across South Florida. I will tell you that during our peak, we were testing positively between 70 and 90 patients a day. Didn't mean we admitting 75 to 90, but that's the number that we were testing positively. That number 2 weeks ago went down to 50. This week is averaging 25. So those numbers are dropping dramatically. That's all good news. But to Jennifer's point, I think it's equally important, is this is the time to make sure that we continue the enforcement of the masking and the social distancing. Because the goal right now is not even the 10% positivity rate, but is really to get down to 5% positivity rate, so that we have a stable environment, especially now that with kids going back to school and so forth. We don't know what that's going to do from a community spread standpoint. So we want to make sure that we keep this really, really tight. We believe that these numbers will probably continue to drop. I think you'll see even a bigger drop of that by the end of August and a further drop into September. So I think this will continue this way. But to the previous point that Richard, you brought up, is we need to make sure that August and September continue to be tight times in which we continue to mask and social distancing, so we don't have the same problem that we had back in May and June, where people just started relaxing everything and we went back to what we were. We cannot afford to do that. We'd rather have a stronger approach right now for the next several weeks and get ourselves down to a below number, so that then once we do that, we don't, and we start opening it up a little bit, you won't get that big increase that we had before. And that being the case, nationally, it's still expected that we will have a second wave, but because if we do the right things and everything we're just talking about right now, and it feels like the behaviors start working a lot better from a masking social distancing, that second wave will be dramatically lower because of the pain that we just went through. So I think all of that is positive. The challenge is that when people see numbers getting better, they feel they can relax. This is not the time to relax.
And can I just throw out one question, and then maybe if there's anybody in the committee has a question? Is there a consensus of when we expect to get down to an average positive test rate of 10% and then down to 5%? Is there a sort of a computer model, some best case guess?
So right now, really, even though the 14-day number, and Jennifer can work with me on this, is running between 14 and 15%. Really, the last several days we're running around 12. Well, today, the speculation because of this backlog will probably end up at a higher number, maybe 18 or 20. But that's not really, that's an outlier. Really, we're running 12 to 13. So I'd say probably by the end of the month we'll be at 10% or slightly below. But even that is not a win at this point. We opened up last time at 10%. So what we've been, we meaning the ID doctors that are advising Mayor Jimenez on a regular basis, which are predominantly our team with Jackson and UM, which actually the Jackson team is all UM, and one FIU ID, is that we keep this going tight to get to the middle single digits, which is around the 5% range. And then once we get to the 5% range, we slowly start bringing things back up again, similar to what New York did. If we did that, I think we're going to be in a much better place coming out of it.
And Carlos, are we doing anything to track the percentage of people that are getting sick, that are testing positive versus the percentage of people that are getting sick? Because I think that's a very important number. And I'm wondering how we're tracking that, because if people are getting COVID but not getting sick, or severely sick, I should say, the problem is different, right?
Well, the only way they're severely sick is the hospitalized beds, right? So that's really the number. And yeah, we're tracking the people that are going into hospitals. There is a national estimate, which is not far off from our own, which says that 40% of the people that are positive are asymptomatic, which means they have nothing at all. So those people are not even testing. So if you look at it from that perspective, but
and what percentage of the people that are symptomatic are being hospitalized versus just managing with not feeling well at home?
About 17 to 18% of people.
17 to 18
of people that are testing positive are actually being hospitalized.
Okay.
And that number is dropping. And that number is dropping right now just because of what we are.
But is it dropping because we're treating people better without having them get that sick, or is it, why is it dropping?
You don't treat people until they get hospitalized. I mean, if
well,
you're sick at home, they're treating this no different than you do a regular cold.
Right, but they're treating, so there's people which is an interesting conversation, right? Because you're tested with COVID, you're told you have pneumonia because you have COVID, they treat you for the pneumonia. I consider that being treated for the COVID ultimately at home. But I get it that it's not a direct treatment for the COVID. I guess you don't have a direct treatment for the COVID itself yet, right?
There is no treatment for COVID. There's treatment for the symptoms of COVID. So, but
exactly.
The treatment at home is not necessarily considered a treatment. The treatment is really when you get to the hospital.
So 17% of everybody that's getting tested positive is being hospitalized.
It might be a little lower than that. Let me go, but it's fairly high. Hang on, let me see if I can get to it.
And is that number staying the same, getting higher, or going lower?
It's getting lower because if you look at the positive rates, the people are getting younger. So the younger the people become, the better the less the symptoms.
Right.
It's a relation of age as well as comorbidities like diabetes, overweight, and other things. So that's the reason why it's getting better, because some of the people that are testing positive are younger and therefore they don't have all the symptoms. For example, an example of that is our Dade County jails, because we track that very well. We have 287 people positive in the Dade County jail. Only 2 are hospitalized. Majority of them are asymptomatic
Okay.
because they're younger.
Did I understand that correct? Is that it's 17% of the people who are tested are hospitalized? Did I get that wrong?
Well, I will tell you, let me put it this way. The ones, when I said that the number I gave you of the number that we have, the hospitals have tested, I've gone
Right.
17%.
Right.
So it's not all the tests, because obviously there's a lot of drive-through tests. I can't give you what the numbers are for the drive-through
Yeah.
tests and all that.
I mean, I would think that that's such an important number, because by the time somebody's going to Jackson, I would imagine that they're sick. They're
Right.
because otherwise you would go to a drive-through and take a much more laid-back approach, I would think. I don't know. I think that's a hugely important number to.
Yeah, we can give you that information. That's not a problem. We can figure out. We know the number of admissions and we know the number of testing, so we can get that together.
I think that would be very helpful, Carlos, because people are in such a panic, and I think that it's important that people do the right thing, but it's also important that they don't panic and they have a clear vision of what's the percentage of people that are testing positive are actually getting very sick.
Alicita, a little panic right now is not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, but we're so far beyond a little panic. I can't tell you how far beyond a little
Because we
panic.
want to make sure that people are masking, social distancing.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a little bit of that concern, they're relaxing themselves and doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Carlos, would I be correct in thinking that that number might seem larger or disproportionate to a number compared to the general population? Because to Alicia's point, the people who are showing up at the hospitals to get tested seem like they're almost all symptomatic. Otherwise, why would you?
The people that test in hospitals are symptomatic. So that percentages of people that are testing in the hospital.
That's not
symptomatic people. We do not test people in hospitals unless they have symptoms. Unless, really, for the most part, that's what we do. So the number is lower than that when you look at total tests, not just at hospital tests.
And have we figured out too, just as an aside, once you've had the antibodies and you are asymptomatic, can you catch it again? Can you still be a carrier? Or are you just done?
They have not. There are no proofs, one side or the other around that. There are a lot of people that will tell you that you are immune, but I will tell you that there are no proofs yet that you're immune or not. Well, you do have the IgG antibodies, which is the immunity antibodies, but that doesn't tell you that it keeps you from getting it again.
But am I correct that even if you are to get it again, the fact you wouldn't be worse off than when you got it the first time? Like, it just seems like if you've had it already, you do have some antibodies. While you might catch it again, it would seem very unlikely for it to be a worse experience than the first time you caught it, because, if anything, you're better off with having some antibodies now.
No proofs to any of that. And frankly, one of the challenges that we've seen, and some people that have said they've gotten it again, there's been questions about some of the testing, because some of the testing that people have been doing out there are not necessarily all the right false positive or false negative. So even though people feel that they've been getting tested, saliva tests are not as accurate as the PCR and the different kind of testing that's out there. So not everybody's test is exactly the same. What the Department of Health has been tracking are the PCR tests that are being done through the drive-thrus as well as the hospitals, not necessarily all those other tests that are being done.
The PCR is for the virus. It's not for the antibody. The antibody, are they generally accurate?
The antibody tests are accurate for the antibodies, not for the positive negative. That's the part of the antibody that's not inaccurate. It's a very high false negative whether you have it today, but they're very accurate on having the antibodies. But having the antibodies does not necessarily mean that you're immune or have any immunity.
I have a question. This is Danette. I'm just looking at the Herald report that came out at around 11 o'clock that the report for Wednesday confirmed 8,100 additional cases of COVID in Florida, and in Miami, 4,100 additional cases. Is this as a result of those backlogs or of those tests that didn't hit? Does anybody know? That's a lot of cases. It's half of it in Miami.
That I think Jennifer signed off, but that would probably be the backlog, because we've been running around the 1,500-1,700 range. But Jennifer just signed off.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the story doesn't have that disclaimer or just talking about that of a description or an explanation, because that would be helpful. Hopefully somebody gets to the Herald to, or figure out what.
Yeah, it sounded like Jennifer, they were working towards clearing
the
that up.
messaging. Yeah.
Right. But we do have the city manager and Chief Hevia from the city of Miami on the call. Do you all want to give an update from the city's perspective on the numbers that you're seeing and what's next?
So I'll be quick because I got to get to another meeting. But I'm going to sort of piggyback a little off what Carlos said, and I was hoping Jennifer would still be on the call because I have a question for her. That a lot of what we've discussed in our Department of Health meetings, and it was kind of put bluntly by Mayor Gelber in our last call with them on Monday, which is, what is that gating criteria going to end up being? What's the target? Carlos mentioned 5%, Jennifer mentioned 10. There is no consensus. And so I don't have a feel for where the county's head is at relative to, what is that threshold that we're going to get to? And then at that point, we start to make decisions. So I would kind of focus in on that in the next couple of meetings you have, so that we can get to some definitive gating criteria. The Department of Health won't give us that number. They refuse to give us any direction as it relates to that. So I'm assuming it's something the county's going to come up with, and I'd be curious to see what methodology they're going to use to get to that number. So that's something I want everybody to kind of focus on.
Let me add on that. Jennifer's focus on the 10% is because those are the numbers that we've been using from a target from the last time around. The advisors to Jimenez, remember the county mayor is the one that's actually has to open from that perspective. We've all been telling him to hold it all the way to that 5% range. And he seems to be on board at this point. I can't speak for him, obviously.
Yeah, that's why
I'm not speaking for him, but I'm telling you, those are the advices we've been giving him. And we don't feel like that's going to happen until sometime in mid to late September.
Yeah, so if you look at the FIU biostatisticians who've been tracking and doing projections for us on the data, it does look like to get to 5%, the last week, 10 days is a little bit tough to read because of obviously we had the hurricane, the storm shutdown, and the lack of testing, and the numbers are a little odd. But it all tracks towards a late September, October, early mid to October range, and it's fluctuating a lot. I think we'll get some better numbers in tomorrow's call we have with them, and as we get to the next week. We're still a ways off from even, contemplating sort of some level of reopening. I don't think, as we've discussed in the Department of Health calls, I'm not sure the mask order will really is something that I think anyone is in favor of removing really until we have a vaccine, and that vaccine is widely distributed. I think the mask order is one of the key pieces that kind of needs to remain in place for a while. So that's kind of the thought process. As far as the businesses themselves, restaurant, dining, in-restaurant dining, some of the other businesses that are absolutely closed, I'm not sure where we're headed with those. That's why I think the next conversation, when Jennifer gets back on the next time you guys meet, see if you can confirm what Carlos you know, that the mayor is sort of aligned with what Carlos is referencing in terms of the advice he's getting. Because everybody's on our call seems to think that it definitely ought to be 5% or less.
Got it. We'll make sure we communicate that to Jen and figure that out for the next meeting.
Robert, you have anything you want to add? I mean, from a data perspective?
More than everyone. I think it's all been fairly mentioned. What I will add is on our calls with the epidemiologists and the biostatisticians that we have now twice a week, in their last report, they revealed that the proportion of positive cases within the community is decreasing. They look at a 14-day average, and we're at about a 0.4 percentage point reduction. In the previous analysis that was done a few days earlier, we were at 0.35. So what they're looking at is for us to be sub 10%, if everything continues to go well, the best projection would be in the first week of September. But again, that's just a projection, and there's data that can be skewed because of, like the manager mentioned, because of the storm and a reduction of the number of people being tested during that time. But sub 10% you're looking at the beginning of September, and sub 5 or 5% easily into October is the best estimates that the biostatisticians gave us on the last call.
That's good. When we met about a month ago, I have notes from a call we had that the statisticians were saying that by mid to late September, we would be below 10%. And by mid to late October, we would be less than 5%.
I think those numbers are trending better than that. But, because and even though we have less number of testing because of the storms, the positivity rates, which have dropped. And I can tell you for our own EDs, our positivity rates are running 13–14% of people symptomatic, which is another positive. So to Art's point, I think we'll know better in the next few days as we get more testing what those numbers are. But it certainly looks like it's trending better.
Carlos, what other criteria on the intake, outtake, hospital numbers, the occupancy numbers, the ICU numbers, what other thresholds have you discussed with the mayor in terms of that gating criteria as well, being kind of beyond the positivity rate? What are some of the 2 or 3 other things that you've talked with him about?
So right now, everything else, to be truthful, what the hospitals are all talking about is starting next week to start doing elective surgeries, because we now have enough beds in ICUs and med surg and everything else that we can go back to get all those pent-up demand that we have for a lot of people that need surgery for a lot of different things. So people are feeling better about everything else. So the driver right now is more around, and everybody's on board that the numbers will continue to come down. We think that by Monday of next week that we'll see dramatic improvements on the ICU bed availability from not just availability, but the number of ICU, there's availability now, the number of ICU patients that are COVID positive. And certainly the number of ICU vetted patients that are COVID positive, and the med surg are all good. So really, what we're tracking right now, it's really the admission rates and making sure that those numbers continue to drop. Now, I will tell you that even though the number has gone from 2,300 at the peak to 1,650, I think was the last 2 days ago, and so it's a dramatically lower, but it is still double what it was in April. So in April it was 800. So we think that we'll get to that 800 number probably by mid to late September. So it's still a long ways away from getting ourselves out of the box here.
What about the deaths? Didn't we have a record of fatality yesterday at 276? Today was over 200. Is anybody tracking that?
Yeah, well, the problem with what you see in the Herald, those are the medical examiner's numbers. And those are dated numbers. It could be anywhere from 2 to 5 days old. The numbers that we track is the deaths in our own hospitals. So, but my point is that the numbers of deaths will continue to be higher for a period of time here.
Yeah, because there's a lag. So when we had that peak number of cases, and and the hospitalizations were at their peak numbers. There's a lag between that and when the possibility for death, for the death numbers to sort of reflect that. So there's a lag behind that. So we had always, every time the twice a week calls, Carlos has been basically reminding us that, you know, there's going to be, the death numbers are going to continue to increase for a little bit, and then it'll cycle back down because the numbers all
And let me ask you, if somebody dies and let's say they have a heart attack and they drop dead, and they go for a person, goes to the coroner, they test positive for COVID. Is that a death through COVID, or is that a heart attack death?
The coroner does not test for COVID. It's done at the hospital.
So, okay, so at the hospital, what is it called?
So if they happen to be positive for COVID, they're not. It talks about a death that happens to be COVID. It doesn't necessarily say whether the person died of COVID or not. It's just a death that happens to be positive.
But so when we're counting all of those deaths that we're attributing to COVID, it could be anybody who died for any reason that had COVID, or no?
That's correct, and they may have died of something else.
Car accident.
Well, not a car accident, because
I mean, they go to the hospital, they die because they have multiple injuries.
and they happen to be positive. Yeah, that would be, and about a third, by the way, a third of the census of patients in hospitals that have COVID came in for a different diagnosis.
Yeah, so I think this is all information that is, you know, creating much greater concern. And not that, look, I don't want to underestimate this. I know that this is a very serious thing, but this is just information that's making people freak out because they're seeing this death count, and you know, people are dying for a lot of reasons. They could be asymptomatic and test positive for COVID. The death is COVID.
But Alicia, Carlos was right before. People need to be scared. I
understand.
I can't underestimate the fact that I walked out of a gym last night, right, in downtown Dayland, and I'm walking to my car, and there are tables of 12 people, right, nobody wearing masks, outside eating, right, all of them in their 20s, and they're oblivious, and the business is letting them do it, which was the other side of it, right? But I saw at least 3 tables that exceeded the maximum occupancy.
You know, I understand that, but but my question also is what we're trying to do is modify people's behavior to be more responsible. Gee, what a goal for all of us who are parents here. If you figure it out, call me, right? So the point that I'm making here also is that you have the people that buy into it, that believe everything they read, that are panicked, mask, shield, staying at home, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the people that think this is all a bunch of baloney, that the numbers are inflated, that they're trying to, you know, manipulate blah, blah, blah on the other side, that are, you know, running through the streets, inhaling your breath. But I think that if you give better information and you explain these things to people, then, oh, my grandmother died of a heart attack and they said she died of COVID. Because that's what's going on the death certificate.
The problem you see is like you can't really tell sometimes, because people don't die of COVID. They die of pulmonary embolism.
Right.
Which is caused by COVID. They die of blood clots in the heart because they died of COVID. So no one dies of COVID. They die of something else that may have been caused by COVID. So,
yeah, except for people are reading it like they're all dying of COVID. That's how people are understanding it. And I think we need to communicate more effectively and give people a little bit more credit that if they're giving better information, they may behave better. Because right now, guys, it's just not fair. It's not fair that Danette opens a paper, she reads 254 people died of COVID.
Okay.
And Danette, probably 150 of them died from something else, and they happen to have
it wouldn't be 150.
They all died of something else. Alicia, 100% of them died of something else.
I get it, Gary, but people are thinking that they died of COVID.
Well,
they're not thinking they died of anything
But they
else.
are dying of.
They are dying because COVID causes other.
No, they're not. These are people that would have had a heart attack anyway, in many cases.
To draw the line, some people are dying of other things that were caused or exacerbated by COVID. And what Alicia's saying is some people are dying from things that weren't exacerbated by, like if someone dies of cancer who happens to have COVID, was the death expedited because of COVID? That's what she's trying to say. Other people are trying to say, yeah, so that's.
I count that as a COVID death. Like, so if I throw somebody off the roof, it's not
COVID positive.
It's a COVID death.
me throwing him off the roof killed him. I think I would say in that circumstance it wasn't COVID, but
It's
Anyway,
counted.
it doesn't seem like that would be a big number to me. Like that would, I mean, it just seems like we're mincing the numbers, and I agree with Art. I mean, you have to change societal behavior. And the way I read all this was we are all in on advertising. We are all in on enforcing masks, social distancing, and that seems to be the way we're doing it.
Yeah, but
and-
we're also all in on fear, guys, and I just don't think that's right.
Can we move on to the DDA staff's presentation so we can show you all that we're working on to help communicate that masks are important and making it fun so it doesn't sound like life or death. The staff's worked really hard on these videos and
Carlos checking out.
I can show that next and I thank the
Carlos, I
city.
want to say thank you, and I want to just say thank you to anybody else on the call.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Carlos. Keep your mask on. Stay safe.
We have to be real, and we have to face facts, and facts are very important, you know, however whatever it is. So, you know, I know what Alicia is saying. We just have to all be conscious and, you know, understand the real facts here. We can't whitewash this thing. This is
But Danette, it's not whitewashing. It's that people who read 250 people died of COVID, that's all they're reading. They're not reading they were thrown off the roof, or they were in a car accident, or they were terminal with cancer.
We know that the coroner isn't taking COVID tests, so we can, although it's funny, the roof analogy and the car accident analogy don't count, but understood.
They do. If they don't die, they go to the
We all
hospital. They
understand
count.
that there are people who die that have COVID, that COVID didn't accelerate it. We get it. At the same time, we also understand that hundreds of people, 1,000 people a day are dying, and that's not happening in a vacuum, right? It's happening in the world and specifically in our country. Regardless, I'm not an epidemiologist or scientist. I'm not here to argue that. I want to see how we can talk about what the next step is in reopening downtown to a new normal. And so I would ask that if maybe we can move on from this conversation and go on to something that we can actually effectuate.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. So Kim, I think you're going to start, right, the presentation that we put together to show the committee and the board all that we've been working on, to Gary's point. So let's go ahead and start that.
Christina, while we're looking at this too, we had mentioned this in a prior board meeting, those masks that we're handing out, do we have any statistics or backup on the quality of the mask? I know there's different level of masks. Is that, and the latest thing I just read was that when you just pull that gaiter over your face, it's actually worse because it takes big droplets and turns them into little droplets and makes it more aerosol-like. So the masks we're handing out, are we sure that we've got some data on these things?
Yes, and they also provide for putting a filter inside the mask if you want to do that. They're double layered.
Okay, so that means that they're quality, that they meet CDC guidelines?
So, yes, Richard. Yeah. Hi, this is Kim, Senior Manager, Miami DDA. And as a runner, Richard, yes, I've used Gator, I use the KN95, and I've used our DDA mask. It does provide for a double filter, so you can insert one in, but it is double layered, as Christina just mentioned, and it does protect you, that double layer of protection. It is rather thick, and it is much better than a Gator.
It has.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here to present to you, along with TAD and the SMS team, the Miami DDA's Health and Economic Recovery Marketing and Public Relations Campaign. Before kicking things off, I just wanted to share some good news regarding our website. Last month, we happened to shatter our all-time website visit figure with over 32,000 visitors as compared to 3,200 in July of 2019 and 3,600 in June. Our website generally has between 3,000 and 3,500 views monthly, and our previous record was 6,000 people. Much of July's success can be attributed to having good content and an increased push and effort to have relevant information from the grants and everything that SMS has been pushing, that we've been doing all of our marketing efforts, which attracted new visitors, new interest around the country. Our goal is to continue with that momentum and to increase the amount of time visitors spend on our website. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Tad to kick off our presentation.
Thanks, Kim, and thanks to everyone. Just to add to what we were just discussing, and then I'm going to let Aaron and Paula run through the initiatives that we've been driving. Look, the bottom line is we can't get to a healthy economy until we have a healthy community. And I think Art stressed this, and I know Gary stressed this. We got to be safe. We've been pushing the fact that we all need to wear masks, and the government finally mandated that, and that's critical. And if we don't continue doing that through this year and probably through 2021, we're not going to get to the point where we can start rebuilding our economy. So, look, I agree with Alicia and I agree with Danette. We need to bring business back to Miami. We need to sustain our businesses on the ground, but we need to start doing what we've been doing for the past 7-8 years, which is attracting investment, bringing in office users, bringing in residents. And the time to start doing that is now, but we can't do it unless we mandate safety. So that's what we've been doing on our end in terms of pushing the fact that we all need to wear masks. If not, you're going to get fined. We've been driving the message in the press and on social media and through PSAs, and supporting our restaurants and supporting small businesses. And then finally, really sending the message that downtown Miami is safe and it's clean. And, all of that is critical in terms of creating the atmosphere that residents are going to want to relocate to, and businesses are going to want to move to. And we're starting to see some of that now. As we talked about, 45 days ago, 2 months ago, the time was not right in the middle of summer when the pandemic was starting to, come back to Miami. Miami is a ground zero to be proactively marketing Miami. And I think we all agree. But I think now, heading into September, heading into October, we can start looking at launching a campaign, something along the lines of, Manhattan is feeling the pain, that's Miami's gain. You're starting to see a lot of stories in the press right now about retailers pulling out of Manhattan and basically saying we're never coming back. They can't afford to be up there. They can't afford to keep a business open. They can't afford to pay the taxes. All of our message points that we've been pushing as part of the financial firm initiative and the hedge fund initiative since 2013 apply today. Better lifestyle, lower taxes, business infrastructure. We have all of that. So the campaign we want to start moving as early as September, which is going to be integrated, press, marketing, social media, content driven, is going to focus on that message, all with the underlying goal of keeping Miami safe, keeping downtown safe and healthy, and driving business here. We've been talking to Danette. She's got a few big office deals in the hopper right now that we can market around. We're seeing residents move here. They're buying single family homes. They're buying condos. We're seeing wealth migration. So we want to kind of capture all of that along with the data that the DDA has put out that we've been marketing over the past few years, and tie it into a campaign and start rolling it out. We've got a number of surrogates across the retail sector, the hotel sector, the office sector, the residential sector that we're going to use, along with, folks like Nitin and Danette, who are going to help us drive this from the DDA standpoint, along with Alicia Cervera, and, do our best to put our best foot forward and capture business and residents from New York, Chicago, Washington, LA, all who really look at Miami with a long-term view. We are going to get through this. We're going to go through some pain, but over the next 12 to 18 months, the way Miami is positioned is this is the place to establish long-term residency. So with that, I'll let, I think Aaron and Paula, we're going to walk through very quickly, a report on our work over the past 2 months along with Kim. Take it away, guys.
Thank you. So as Tad alluded to, we've been working with Christina, Kim, and the DDA staff to really put together a fast action response campaign that's been adjusting to really, I would say, changing conditions that have materialized on a weekly basis. So back in March, when we first presented to the board, and that was when the reality of the pandemic first set in, our goal was really to keep our residents engaged, entertained. We had the David Guetta concert. We had a happy hour series. We were also really trying to get ahead of the message of cleanliness and to help sustain local restaurants through the Go Local campaign. Then fast forward to May, we put together and we presented to this committee a recovery plan that was really designed to support the DDA's economic development efforts and the branding and marketing activities. And I think there was consensus that we needed to table that for, what will end up probably being about 60 days. But as Tad mentioned, we plan to undertake that heading into September. As the health situation became more tenuous in June, we recalibrated our objectives to focus really on three things: encouraging safety and compliance, demonstrating what the DDA is doing to keep our downtown streets clean, safe, and sanitary, and thirdly, driving traffic to downtown businesses and promoting the programs that we have in place to provide financial support. And those three objectives have really defined our campaign over the past 2 months, with our tactics including an aggressive social media push, which we'll hear about today, creative content, street level activations, and earned media coverage for the DDA in downtown. I'm gonna now hand it over to Kim, who's gonna go into more depth about the marketing and advertising strategy we've undertaken.
So on July 7th, we kicked it off, the Mask on Miami campaign with Commissioner Reyes and Christina distributing masks throughout downtown, the Central Business District, and Brickell Avenue. We received a lot of media coverage through the El Nuevo Herald, Miami Herald, NBC6, and various other outlets. At our last COVID relief meeting, we heard you, and we are now advertising with the Miami New Times and The Real Deal. Both outlets will help us amplify this message. The message we are communicating is this same message, why I wear a mask. That appears to be super relevant, and it crosses over to both platforms. And even with this online advertising and print advertising, we found a way to engage and allow it to cross over into our social media by having people tell us their reasons why for an opportunity to get a Miami DDA face mask. In addition, in an effort to reiterate the message throughout downtown publicly where everyone can see, we are installing over 100 street banners on Biscayne Boulevard, Brickell Avenue, South Miami Avenue, and Flagler. So these images, these banners will also reflect the Why I Wear a Mask and the Reasons Why campaign, again, reiterating and further amplifying that message for us to wear your mask, keep your social distance, wash your hands, and let's move forward towards the forward.
That's awesome.
Eliminating the spread. Thank you, Danette. In addition, we've had a lot of paid and organic social media advertising as well. We've run 3 ads in the month of July that received over 1 million impressions and reached over 1 million viewers. And that's across all platforms: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Organically, we posted over 75 Mask on Miami posts, which have also received over 193,000 impressions and engagement of over 6,500. Our engagement ranges from collaboration requests to participate in our videos, wanting masks, and entering, again, the contest for the giveaways. This next slide are a few of our more recent videos. It'll take a minute to go through all 3 just to show you we're continuing to keep it fresh. And here's a great reason why people are very happy to participate and engage in our campaign. So it's a different variety to attract the different audiences and what they attract and what they are interested in.
Show that smile this way, show that smile this way. Throw that smile this way, show that smile this way. Throw that smile this way, show that smile this way.
So again, our goal with these are launched every week on Tuesday for further engagement and for people to see as it continues to grow and grow and grow and to continue to create more interest. In addition to the Mask on Miami video campaign, social media campaign, We also recently just distributed a media mailer that was sent out to over 50, thanks to the help of the Schwartz team, with over 50 local and regional as well as national reporters to get them engaged in our campaign and to talk about it. As you can see on this screen, Christina Boomer Vasquez of Channel 10, she already posted and she's engaged in the campaign and telling people mask on, and she's already receiving interaction from her audience asking how to get masked. So this is working. And we also have another downtown influencer, Just As Sarah, who her actual view received over, when she posted, over 4,000 impressions and quite a bit of engagement. So this is working. A quick fact that I apologize, I forgot to mention, but I think is super worthy to be shared. On the Smile videos that we're posting, we have received over 28,217 views. So it is something that the community is finding interesting. And the Miami News Times actually told us that they think that this is something that should be included in their best of in September of 2020.
That's great.
That's awesome.
In addition, lastly, through our whole social media campaign, we've continuously reiterated and shared what the county and the city has been doing. We've now instituted and started to push exactly what Jackson Health is pushing, even more so with the plasma donation. We are making sure that our message is consistent. Wear a mask, wear a mask. We've been going strong for that since the emergency order has been announced. So thank you to the Schwartz team. And as you can see right here, it's been 74 posts, lots of engagement. And from that, I think, Paula, I will toss it to you.
Thank you. So in addition to coming up with really creative ways to encourage safety and mask wearing in a more fun and way to appeal, especially to that younger demographic we've been so concerned over the last couple of months. Another initiative is keeping downtown clean and safe. And so how we've done that, especially once the stay-at-home orders were lifted, we wanted to make sure people felt safe coming back to downtown, not just visitors, but business owners and residents. So we put together a campaign, a media relations campaign that showed that. And then Kim, if you can just quickly go to the next slide, so I can show some of the media coverage. So we brought in every TV station when we were opening back from the stay-at-home order. We had CBS, we had Telemundo on site. Kim, if you can kind of play the different clips. Yeah, so we had a few of those. In addition to the cleanliness videos that we got, we also worked with press to talk about the homeless initiatives. We focused on the sanitation issues associated with the pandemic. We placed a heavy emphasis on showcasing how the DDA employs formerly homeless individuals. And of course, the large group feeding ordinance. We've worked with both the chairman and with Gary on putting together op-eds that really support the reason why this is important. It's just as much important from a public safety issue as it is a cleanliness and business issue. And then we also, the other initiative we're doing is, of course, supporting downtown businesses. So if you could kind of go to the next slide. Thank you. So one of our most recent pushes has been the DDA as a catalyst for the cafe permit program and the furniture programs, and how those two have made a huge difference for businesses in the downtown district. So we've generated awareness for the program through different publications, so through industry publications, through local publications that reach the consumers that want to come out and see where the best places to dine are, making the streets of downtown more appealing to do so during the pandemic. And then we also have made a huge social media push behind this. We've placed a big emphasis on this through both marketing and social media efforts. We've leveraged a lot of the media coverage as well on social media. We've generated more than 84,000 impressions for this campaign. We've also hit the pavement. I know the DDA team has, the marketing team has gone and taken videos and photos of the different restaurants participating in the program. And those businesses really do see a value in having the DDA staff there as a support, where they're able to promote their businesses and get additional consumers out there. And then another big initiative has been Go Local. So that has been one of our earliest initiatives, and we've been really heavily supporting this through social media and through the DDA's marketing channels. The DDA team produced 2 Go Local videos that generated more than 9,400 views on social media as well. Given the longevity, this is one of the efforts that we've been really pushing the most. We've also had a lot of organic and some social media posts as well for that. Kim, if you want to kind of go through some of the, so those are just some of the recent media placements, and these are the numbers that we have on the Go Local social media campaign. So you'll see here that we've done organically, we've gotten more than 250,000 impressions. We've also done 4 Go Local media ads, which have generated an additional 70,000 impressions. And then the last big initiative that we've been doing to support the businesses has been how the DDA has taken a hands-on approach from the Small Business Task Force to having a physical presence at MCAD, and just how we've been proactively supporting businesses through the pandemic. We've ingrained the DDA in the community during the toughest of times, and we've delivered these messages through various media outlets, through TV stations. We've generated profile stories and interviews with some of the DDA staff, including Julia and Christina, that big Miami Herald Q&A that we did with Christina that talked about where we are in our recovery efforts, what the DDA is proactively doing to support the recovery efforts, and then of course how we're going to emerge from this strongly as comparison to the last recession, where the DDA emerged really strongly from that, and how we're a resilient community. And then Aaron is going to talk a little bit about looking ahead.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Paula and Kim. So I know we're a few minutes over time. I'll keep this very brief, but I think it's important. As Tad alluded to at the beginning, there's still a lot of uncertainty. Promoting health and safety is going to continue to be our primary message for the foreseeable future. But at the same time, we're very cognizant that many of our businesses are suffering. So we want to keep up with the initiatives and the messages and just the real hands-on work that we're doing on the street to help those businesses, be it the possible expansion of the cafe ordinance, the grants that we're doing for businesses, the funding that was recently approved for companies that are looking to relocate here. And bigger picture, talking about out of market, we believe strongly that the attributes that made Miami and downtown a desirable place to live, work, visit, and invest before the pandemic are still going to be desirable post-pandemic. So we plan to revisit that narrative in September and drive it through the fall and winter. I think there's a lot of concern that the health situation in cities to the north are going to be it's going to be dire in the fall and winter. And so companies and executives are going to be looking to relocate, be it for the short term or the long term. And so we're certainly going to take advantage of that and send the message that our office market is ripe with opportunities. It's resilient. We want to reinitiate the wealth migration and finance initiative campaign to drive a narrative on a national level, and really just hammer home the fact that we are a viable option for companies across a range of sectors based on our favorable tax rates, our weather, our quality of life, and really the resilience that we demonstrated coming out of the last recession, with everything we're doing to bounce back stronger this time around. So like I said, that begins over the next few weeks. We actually have an interview on the finance initiative that's happening this afternoon with Financial Times. We've got some leases coming up. Tad mentioned Danette has one that she just signed. We've got another one with a mental health provider that was just signed that we're supporting them with their announcement. So, little by little, we want to make headway and start to pivot our message from one of sustaining what's already here and keeping our people and our residents healthy to one of we're looking to enter growth mode again. So,
I think, Aaron, can I add something?
Yes, of course.
I think it's important, we have mentioned this in the past, that people understand that the difference between downtown, like the DDA district, and maybe other parts of Miami, because what we are getting hammered in the news at night, you know, Florida in general, and then what, a few weeks ago, Miami itself, where it's COVID central. And we were like the epicenter of the global pandemic in Miami specifically. But I think that if you look at the numbers in the DDA district, I think it's important for us to be able to have a distinction of, look, we have really done it, you know, we are doing well, we're mandating masks, this is what the city mayor is doing, we're being very responsible in order to help that message get out there too, because for every deal that I do, I have 10 deals that, you know, I'm not doing anything. Like we had an email yesterday from somebody from Chicago that was looking at coming down and was going to lease space in our building. And they said, you know what, due to the spike, we're just going to hold off until January. So most of the people that were interested in leasing space in Miami have told us we're going to revisit this in January. So I think it's good, you know, the campaign for that reason too. And it's probably because of the winter months and all that. But I also think that it's, if we can just drive also additional messages to what, you know, our stats and, you know, how we're doing, I think that'll help as well.
Agreed.
All right.
Thank you. We can roll that in, Jeanette. That's a great idea.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Christine,
Jeanette.
do you have anything else on the agenda? I see we have Fernando here. Hey, Fernando.
Yeah, I just wanted to run through a couple just numbers for our various programs, just so you all have it, and I'll send it to you via email as well. But I wanted to provide, so our reopening micro grant, we were able to approve 46 out of the 67 applications that we received to date. 46 have been approved for funding, so that's great news for our small businesses.
What is this for? What was this? What was it for?
The small business reopening grant that the board allocated dollars to last board meeting.
Got it.
Yeah, thank you. And then also our emergency storefront recovery grant, we've received 7 applications and have approved 6 to date. So we're trying to reach out to those businesses that are eligible for that so that we can continue that grant as well. And then on the sidewalk cafe permits, just to give you some numbers, Alicia had asked me, do we know how many sidewalk cafes we have in the district that are open? And so the permits that have come in through the new program, 24 have been approved, all have barricades in place, and all are open and functioning with outdoor permits. Pending permits in downtown, we have about 7. For the umbrella program, we've loaned out 32 umbrellas to date. We have 18 umbrellas remaining, so we're gonna be working with the businesses that are eligible to receive that as well. And then we've also loaned out tables and chairs, 14 tables, about 28 chairs so far. So it's been a great program, and thanks to staff for keeping things back.
Are we going to really take that stuff back, or like you said, loan down? I mean,
we leased them out. Yeah, we leased them out, and there's an agreement that they have to sign and to store it and things like that in case we have, God forbid, another storm. So eventually, yes, we will. So they're leased right now. So if once the restaurants open normal, we can either continue the program or not. We can discuss this at board. But the idea is to leave them out there and during this time to assist the restaurants with the capacity limitations that they have to give them more space. And they look really pretty. You saw some pictures in Kim's presentation. So it looks great out there. Any other questions from us
Did Fernando want to say anything? Because he's been on
Fernando,
the call.
yeah, do you want to say?
So I'll be very brief, because looking at some of the slides and stuff, the do you want a burger made me really hungry. So I've seen the DDA campaigns all over Twitter and you know, and Instagram and stuff. So there, it is hitting a target audience, which is great. We are, the city itself is also putting out similar type of messages regarding wearing your mask and social distancing and you know, being responsible. We're also putting information out there that our restaurant recovery program is available and open. So, you know, I know the last time we met, I shared some of the data with you. I want to bore you with the same information. There's nothing in the data that we've seen this week that is a whole lot different from what we saw last week. So things are still holding the pattern that we have is still kind of going in a positive trend regarding some of the economic activity. What I do want to share with you, and I'll leave you with this, is a lot of the things that we're doing at the city and you're doing at the DDA, it's tough to measure the economic impact, the immediate economic impact of what it is that we're doing.
Hey, Brian, this is Joseph Salzberg. I'm Robert Stewart.
Okay. So
it's not like that.
The only thing that we can look at right now is basically information that we get from the state of Florida or from the county regarding the taxes collected, which kind of gives us an idea of how are the revenues coming in versus what they were last year. Unfortunately, that information is at least 60 days old by the time it's reported. We're working with Google and MasterCard. We hopefully have agreements in place in the next week or two, but we're going to be getting some data regarding transactions that can be put down all the way to a zip code level in order to get an immediate, maybe a 48-hour information regarding what type of transactions are going on, how much is being spent and where, and whether or not what we're doing to try to spur the economy and get the restaurants and some of the stores to get some more activity, whether it's actually working. So I look forward to sharing some of that data with this group as soon as we're able to get some of those agreements in place. And with that, I'll just stay quiet and take questions. Or maybe get a burger.
Thank you.
I'll throw it out. Fernando, anything we can do more to help your efforts within the city or DDA?
No, I mean, we communicate with you guys a lot. I mean, Christina and I talk a lot, so it's a good thing. And I'm not afraid to ask if I need help. So I do appreciate you guys are willing to help us out, and we too are willing to help the DDA with whatever you guys need. No.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thank you, Fernando.
Thanks.
Any questions, committee? Okay. Christina, do we have any other business for the committee?
Nope, that was it. Wanted to provide you a good update with what we've been working on over the next several weeks and looking ahead what we're planning. So that's the latest. We're also looking at a reiteration of Go Local that will maybe combine some third-party delivery services and things of that nature and tech companies that we're talking to about what's next here. So we are in these conversations. But for that, we will need a couple more weeks to provide an update on that program because we haven't been able to roll that out yet. But we are moving forward with some different ideas to help continue to promote the restaurants and our open businesses, and understanding what they need right now from us is important. Also, I just want to mention lastly that Julia and our small business initiative, we've been working with FIU and the city on a restaurant certification program for cleanliness and sanitation that the city partnered with us on. And so we'll be rolling that out soon in the next couple of weeks as well, which is great. So the restaurants, if you want to opt into a webinar, you'll take a class that basically explains the sanitary guidelines and the PPE guidelines. And it's going to be taught by an FIU professor. And at the end, you'll get a certification, which you can then put at your business to show that you've been certified in this class. So it's another program that we've been working on that we should be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. But other than that, that's the update from us. Thank you all for being on the call.
We have Commander Ellington from, I believe, the Miami Police Department. I want to thank her for attending. Does she have anything to offer the committee?
Thank you, Commander, for being on. She's a commander for the Brickell area. If you'd like to share any updates.
Yes, hi, good afternoon. I know I'm a little bit behind. As you all may know, I've been out of office for quite some time, to be exact, a month and a half. Unfortunately, I was struck with COVID and it had me down for quite some time, but I'm healthy. I'm back, and I am happy to be back to service you all. I am doing some catching up, but I know that these meetings have been going on for quite some time, and you all may have discussed a lot. So I know one of the concerns before I went out was issues with homeless. So in speaking to my team, the homeless situation has gotten a lot better. We are partnering with the homeless assistance program in terms of finding the homeless bed or even offer them bed space, as well as sanitation to clean up the areas where they mostly frequent. We go out twice a week, and then on a daily basis, we make contact, you know, with it as much as possible. So the situation has improved, but still is work in progress, as you may know.
Okay.
As far as crime has been relatively good. You know, we still have the issues with the day-to-day breaking to vehicles, but in overall, crime has been really good. We don't see any spikes, any patterns or trends or anything like that in the Brickell area.
Your responsibility to enforce the wearing of the mask, and how's that going? Is it?
Yes. So work in progress. We have started issuing citations to those that don't wear masks. And we do still see a lot of people that are not wearing masks. It's sad to say that at this point. So what we're doing now is we're still educating. I wouldn't call it educating because at this point everyone knows, but some people may have forgotten it in the car, and when you stop them, they'll run back to the car and get it. So we do give them that opportunity. But we also, in some cases, have to write citations to some. So it just depends on the situation.
Thank you, Commander. And we also have an ambassador in Brickell that's handing out masks as well that we reallocated.
Yes, I was just reading that email. Thank you all. We can definitely use the help and working together. We can, accomplish a lot. But
forgive me, but the rule is if you're walking, if you're not socially distanced, you have to have a mask on, or even if you're walking alone outside downtown, you have to have a mask on.
So the new order is, and again, I've been out, so I'm still doing some catching up, but the new order is because before it wasn't enforced in the streets, so to speak, in the open area, but now it is. So even out in the general public area, whether you're in the park or you're walking on a sidewalk, you need to have a mask on. You must have a mask on.
Okay.
Right, which is why we're handing them out as well.
I believe the only,
police is also handing them out as well.
Go ahead, Fernando.
Yeah, I believe the only exception is that if you have some sort of condition that prevents you from wearing a mask, or unless you're involved in some strenuous exercise and you're socially distant. So those are the two ways out.
But it doesn't sound like we have a zero tolerance policy here. It sounds like we're giving, we're giving warnings out still, and the entire effort here to get downtown up and running is based upon people's masks. And I guess the question I have to the commander or Fernando, do you see that do you see inconsistencies here with our approach of all in on masks and getting people to wear masks, yet we're not having a zero tolerance policy in enforcement, if I understood the commander correctly?
Well, it is, I do see consistency, and it is a zero tolerance. However, there are situations that differ. For instance, and I just met with my some of my team about this yesterday. So for instance, if they're standing in the car and they're there, maybe dealing with something else, and they see someone get out of their vehicle and he or she gets out without a mask, and they turn around and say, "Hey, sir, your mask." And the guy turns, "I'm sorry, you're right," and turn around and get it. Maybe he just jumped out and he forgot. So we won't write him a ticket. But if you go into an establishment and you see someone in there and they're shopping and they're doing whatever, so it just depends on the situation. It is a zero tolerance, but it just depends on the situation.
How old are the kids required to wear, or how young, at what age are they required to wear a mask, children?
I believe it's 2 and older.
2 and under. We also, by the way, ordered.
Does not have to wear a mask.
Yeah, we also ordered children's masks too, because there are cases where we've seen that there's little kids walking around without masks, so we've ordered those as well. And they'll be handed out as well. In fact, I have to wear a kid's mask because I have a small head. So.
Before we adjourn real quick, Richard, if I could, I love the idea of helping promote our restaurants with a technology platform. I just want to make sure that I say this here, that I want whatever technology platform we're working with, let's make sure that they are a responsible organization that works within the laws of the city of Miami and Dade County.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think Kevin wanted to add something about that, right, Kevin?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so it's pretty neat. If you all recall, we joined with FIU in the Hospitality Relief Program, where we raised $190,000 for 78 restaurants in the DDA. That's a few months ago. And they recently paired again with Miami-Dade County, where the same program was infused with $5 million. So I think that's really great. The fact that a program that we initiated and paired with FIU on was so successful that they decided to do it again. So that program has not been released yet. We expect it any day, but I did sync with FIU, and they did tell me on a preliminary basis that anyone who applied the first time can apply again. So once we have those full details, we're going to make sure to disseminate that information to our estimated 400 restaurants, and especially those 78 that applied the first time, because they're likely going to apply a second time.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other
And it's up
questions?
to 25,000 per restaurant, is that correct?
Well, that's a different one. That's a separate program. That's a $25 million program with Dade County. But yes, that one as well. We're pushing that.
Any other questions from the committee? And do we have a consensus of when we want to get back together again?
I think we said every other week, right?
Yeah, I was going to recommend in 2 weeks.
Okay. Danette, anybody, any members?
That's good.
All right, then let's just say a couple of weeks. Anybody have any further business to discuss? All right.
That would be the 26th. Is everybody okay with that at 11?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's good.
And one other thing, I sent out an email yesterday. If you can send me your addresses so we can send you some masks, so you can have our DDA masks. Just remember to send me your home addresses, because I know many of you are working remotely.
Okay. A motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Bye.
day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe, everyone.